After 3 weeks, the Seminoles finally return home to take on Syracuse at 3:30 right here at Doak Campbell Stadium. I'm Lane Hurt, along with Tim Lenefelt for your Nole Insiders game preview. Tim, going into that bye week, Seminoles won 2 straight. Things were looking good. Afterwards, 2 straight losses, a heartbreaking one last week to Wake Forest. Where are the Seminoles right now as they head into this critical game against Syracuse?
I think first and foremost, they're happy to be home. And, look, there's no way around it. And Willie Taggart has said it, I think, multiple times this week, but definitely on Thursday before his last media availability of the week, is that, they find a win a ball game. I mean, that's kind of where you're at right now. You need to find a way to sort of dig your foot in the ground and say, all right, we're not going to go in that direction any longer. Stop that momentum from moving in that direction and eventually swing things back the other way. This is an opportunity to do that. Again, it's a Syracuse team that has taken some steps backward from last year, quite frankly. They did win 10 games a year ago, a pretty impressive run for them, but it hasn't been as good in the follow-up year. So, the other side of that is they're going to be desperate for a win as well. They want one too, and so I think you're going to see 2 teams kind of fighting for the remainder of their season. After this game, there's a month left, still time to generate some positive momentum for the rest of this season and moving on. But it has to start this week, I think, particularly at home, particularly at homecoming. You should have a decent crowd, a nice crowd for homecoming, and everybody kind of enjoys all the festivities and all that stuff there. It's a chance for you to kind of do that and sort of wash that taste out of your mouth, and also build some positive vibes heading into that Miami game a week from now, which I think we all expect will be a pretty significant one as well. So, a lot on the line here, an opportunity to just stop the direction that you've been going for the last couple of weeks and start trying to move in the other way.
Syracuse, a team that Dino Babers built on a high-octane offense. They've struggled mightily on that side of the ball this year. Tommy DeVito's been banged up. I think it was Clayton Welch came in and played against Pitt last week, played all right. The big thing there is their offensive line. I think people have noticed Florida State struggles. Syracuse struggling even more. They are last in the country in sacks allowed. They have allowed 35 sacks in 7 games, 5 per game. A chance for Florida State's defense, who maybe hasn't gotten to the passer the way they've wanted to the last couple of games, to right that ship and cause some havoc in the backfield.
No, that's exactly right. And, like the pass rush for Florida State got off to a really good start, but they don't have any sacks in their last 2 games. Now, there are some mitigating circumstances there. Obviously, Joshua Kando hasn't played in more than a month. You lost Jaden Lars-Woodby. He expected to be a force off the edge, and so you're kind of having to make do there. And then, you look at the Clemson game is what it is, but you would have liked to have gotten a little bit more pressure against Wake Forest, I think. So going against the line, you said it. Look, man, they gave up 9 sacks to Pittsburgh last week. They're so much that their starting quarterback got knocked out of the game. Their backup quarterback got banged up. He wasn't 100% after that game either. We don't fully know the status of those quarterbacks, but it should be a day in which Janaris Robinson and those guys can maybe pin their ears back a little bit and get after it. And man, it's such a huge momentum swing when you're able to get a good pass rush and get some sacks, even if it's just a handful. It's so hard, particularly and we've seen it, for offenses, particularly the hurry-up, no-huddle spread offenses. If they get behind the chains on first down, more often than not, that drive, it's not going to go anywhere. If you can rack up some sacks, get those guys moving backwards, and you've seen it in Syracuse's results. I just don't know that they can overcome that. So a huge momentum swing for you there for your defense, and potentially get the ball in your hands of your offense and make some things happen.
For the Seminoles offense, I think they made it. They drove last week. Yeah. They got some yards. Cam Akers, 150 again. It's a matter of finishing those drives with some points, not turning the ball over near the red zone or in the red zone. And then you look at the fact that the offensive line has made some changes in the last couple of weeks as well. Is it possible the Noles have found some combinations there that could bode well for the offense moving forward?
I think so. I think what you saw against Wake Forest is something that you might see more of moving forward. I'll be curious to see exactly where Darius Washington fits in, the true freshman that played at left tackle. We saw him during some of the open portions of practice taking some starters reps, so I'm sure there's probably a plan for him moving forward. I'll be interested to know, what's going on with, depending on Brady Scott and Bavion Johnson, their statuses. I know Coach Taggart said that he expects them to be available, but we don't know fully in what capacity. I know they really like Andrew Baselli, what he does at the center spot, and Cole Minshew as well. I think has after 2 games really contributed way more than probably most of us would have expected.
Yeah, 50 snaps last week, correct?
Over 58, I think. And I thought he handled himself pretty well. He certainly is a guy that knows what to do, and playing that guard spot, you can just be big and get in the way. And if he has some technique, which he does after being here for 5 years, you can make some things happen. So we'll see. I do think that you'll see some of those different combinations again. I think there'll probably be a plan for all three of those guys, whether they're in the starting lineup or whether they come on in relief, we'll see. But yeah, I think overall that just seeing something different and having some positive results is a good thing, and they're going to need to, because as much as Syracuse offense has struggled, their defense has actually been pretty good. They have a nice front seven, some pretty good defensive ends, and as many sacks as they've given up, they've also been able to get after opposing passers a lot as well.
There you have it, Seminole fans. It's the Noles and the Orange on homecoming. Make sure you get out to Doak Campbell Stadium and support your Noles, a big one for Florida State. That'll wrap up things for now. Of course, we'll have much more come game day as Florida State looks to get back on a winning track. For Tim, I'm Lane. Go Noles.